Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Q&A, the Next Ed Summer Programs Q&A. My name is Hannah Satterwhite, and I'm the Assistant Director of Advocacy and Education at St. Louis ARC. We're so excited to have our guests here today. I'm going to turn it over to JR and Mary Rose, who are going to talk to us about Next Ed Summer Programs. So thanks so much for being here, you two.
Hello, thank you. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Our summer programs for Next Ed is called Next Ed Challenge, and this one is going to be featuring just the overnight experience. My name is J.R. Johnson. I'm the Assistant Director of Transition Services for the St. Louis ARC. I've been with the ARC for 8 years, almost nine, coming up on nine pretty soon. Uh, and I've been overseeing Next Ed and Next Ed Challenge for 6 years, coming up on seven. Today, I brought one of my fantastic young adults who has been participating in Next Ed and has participated in Next Ed Challenge last summer and who's going to be returning this year, hopefully. Well, not hopefully, she is. Um, Mary Rose.
Hi.
Through my presentation, I will give opportunity after I go through the program to give a word from Mary Rose so she can share what she liked about Next Ed and how her experience went. So to get started, what is the overview of Next Ed Challenge? Next Ed Challenge is a 5-day, 4-night program that provides young adults the opportunity to participate in different independent living experiences, to give them an opportunity to practice those independent skills and see what it's like to live in an apartment style living situation for a week. So I know the overview is kind of like, well, what is it? So let's just go into this and like the shortness of this, exactly what it is. So the challenge is an overnight independent living experience. It's time to practice those real world skills uh, in an environment. So this could be cooking your own meal, exploring the community that we're hosted at, attending different groups. I'm going to go over the curriculum here in a minute, but those groups are going to be based on those independent living skills curriculum that we have developed. We're going to have different activities. Those activities are going to be everywhere from managing your apartment style all the way to those social activities where you're going to interact with your peers and other community supports. We do have a lot of guest speakers that come through that talk about different opportunities that young adults can get involved in. Anywhere from the library to we have different departments here at the St. Louis ARC that come and talk to us, from employment to leisure and independent living with Connect. We also like to do different teamwork activities. So the night is open for those young adults that are staying with us to plan and prep their own social activities through the night. We've had anywhere from Mario Kart competitions, uh, different board game nights. We do tie-dye one night, movie night, but we just like to do different social activities, and it's really set up for those suites to interact with each other to create those events. They also have to work together in their suites to cook those different meals because they'll be taking turns cooking meals throughout the time for all of the participants. So everybody gets an opportunity to cook, which is usually everybody's favorite thing to do. So what is our curriculum? So Next Ed Challenge, we utilize our Next Ed independent living curriculum that we developed with our partnership with Washington University Occupational Therapy Program. This curriculum, when we first started out that research base, we developed the 9 pillars of independent living, which is going to be self-determination, tools for independence, personal safety, connecting to the community and resources, cooking and nutrition, leisure and wellness, managing our living spaces, money management, and communication. So when I talk about those group activities that we participate in throughout the week, these are going to be where those group sessions are going to come from. So we'll have a group activity, a group lesson based on each one of these 9 pillars. So where is Next Ed held? Well, we like to host it at University of Missouri, St. Louis. A lot of people like to call it UMSL. We use their Oak Hall, which is their dorm rooms. So we rent out these dorm suites. Usually we rent out four, but this summer we're adding an additional one, so we'll be renting out five of these suites. Each suite has four different dorm rooms in it, and then a shared bathroom. I kind of laid out if you guys could see. Oh, my mouse is not working on that one. So my mouse, these two top ones are kind of like the blueprint, the layout of the most common suites that we would go. So there will be four dorm rooms in each suite with a shared bathroom. So you'll see right here, those shared bathrooms. And what we like to do is have three young adults stay in one, and then we have a staff member or a staff room in all of them. And usually is usually the rooms that we like to use for the staff. So when the young adults are staying overnight, they will have a staff member. So if they are feeling a little homesick or need somebody to talk to, or an emergency occurs, they do have a staff member that will be on site inside their suite for them, so they can connect with. So what do they get? They get their own room, so they will have their own room, and then they have that shared bathroom. Some of the other availabilities that we have using Oak Hall is Oak Hall has their own kitchen that's on the bottom floor that we like to use for our cooking. Um, in this program, young adults will cook, or they have and will continue cook their own breakfast. They make their own lunch and they cook their own dinner. So we cook all week long. I think the only time that we really step in and cook for them is our Wednesday. We like to do a barbecue and pool party because there is access to a pool. So we will swim on Wednesdays. And usually one of the staff members will barbecue. Unless one of the participants wants to try it out, we will always encourage them to step in if they want to. We love initiative with trying new things. They have access to laundry. There's an outdoor area that they can have access to, and then there's also a game room, like a social room, in the basement as not the, well, yeah, it is in the basement of Oak Hall. That we like to do our socializing in and do different activities each night. Like I said before, one of the staff members will stay overnight and we'll have one of the rooms inside the suite. So staff will be there in the building if the whole time. So there will be staff available through the whole 5 days, 4 nights. One of the other special things that we like to do with the challenge is we don't want you to just come in and then meet people through that week. We like to host a meet and greet the week before the challenge occurs. This is a time for young adults to get to know one another. It's a time for staff to go over what participants would need for the week, go through the welcome packet for the challenge and answer any of the questions so young adults can get prepared for the next week, review the expectations of the program, what the program schedule will look like for the next week, just overall to be prepared to what they're getting themselves involved in that coming week. So try to take out a little bit of the nerves, right? Before we stay overnight. Note, we also do this meet and greet where we encourage parents to stay as well. We have a separate meet and greet for the parents so they can mingle and get to know each other, share their experiences or what their expectations of the week is, but then also for the staff to go over with them what the week would look like if they need something, who they can contact, what that first day is going to look like. We like to go over the directions of how drop off will look like and what they can expect that first day and throughout the week. Who can enroll in the challenge? Who's up for the challenge, right? This will be young adults ages 18 to 30 with an intellectual and developmental disabilities who have a goal to become more independent in their daily lives. This could be having a goal of being more independent while they're living at home with their family members. This could be being prepared to ready to live on their own one day, or maybe with roommates. But we like to have that conversation of how can we build our independence in your current or future goals for your independent life. So now I know I flew through there, but I'm going to leave you guys room at the end for tons of questions to be able to go through. But I'm going to give it over to Mary Rose so she can share her experience last year and what she would like you all to know.
Hi. So I did participate last year. It was a great time. We were supported the whole time. Um, let's see. My favorite part was pancakes and swimming, but I made Mickey Mouse pancakes for everybody. That was fun. I also enjoyed the programs that we had come in. We had Metro also come in, so that was fun.
I think you brought up a good point of something I did forget. So one thing is in the challenge we stay on what they call South Campus, and our classrooms were on North Campus, right?
Yes.
And so every day we had to take that Metro Link
Yes.
across to get to our classroom and back. I'd say probably the biggest challenge that everybody complained about was the walk
Yeah.
to
It
the
was
Metro
also
Link.
very warm sometimes.
Very warm. I think were you the group that got caught in the rain too? Yep. So rain, shine, we still got to use that public transportation. So we practice and experience what that would look like to look at that transportation.
I will say one thing, when they give you your ticket, never throw it away. Always keep it on you. We did have an experience where we did have the cops come and they were making sure there was no one that wasn't supposed to be on there, and whew, that was an interesting time.
So it was a great learning experience to see that, yeah, you definitely need to have your ticket in. They show us how to validate it, right? To
Yes.
make sure our ticket's validated. But it was a neat experience to, you know, kind of nerve-wracking when they come and ask, right? We also on Fridays, we don't just celebrate, but what do
Yeah.
we like to do on
We
Fridays?
have an event. We go out and we take the Metrolink, of course, and we go to somewhere in the community and we have fun. Last year we did bowling. No,
Yeah.
wait. Yeah, no, we did mini golf actually.
We did mini golf. It was originally going to be bowling.
Yeah, but then they
Uh,
didn't want to do that. So
yep. So
you do have to make compromises. You don't get always what you want. It's a democracy, not a dictatorship. So
definitely, we have to work together, right?
yep.
Yeah, but that's what's really neat about the outings on Friday. So after we are working all week, learning the different lessons, on Fridays, we like to go out and celebrate that. So we work throughout the week. We talk together as a group,
Yep.
practice our teamwork skills and communication skills to figure out a plan of where we want to go. We've went places to Union Station in past Next Ed challenges. But you guys got to go to the mini golf down at the Loop.
Oh, my other favorite one was when the library came in. Because some of the presentations are on Zoom. They're not always in person. So it does depend on what's happening. So
Yeah, awesome. Mary, what would you, if a young adult was interested in coming into the challenge, what would be advice you would give them about the experience, how to prepare for it?
well, I made a list of what I needed to bring first. I am scatterbrained. Also come in with an open mind because you never know who you're gonna meet. And always be respectful because you're gonna be stuck with these people for a week, and if you don't get along, it's not gonna be fun. So
How would you describe the staff of the challenge?
I loved the staff. I um, care very much about them. I've known them, and so JR is a great guy. He doesn't always stay all the time, but he does come and check in. So make sure you're on your best behavior.
What would be the expectations of the challenge for a participant?
We also not the only ones there. So
Mhm.
you have to remember there's students and other participants of other groups. And so if you want to do something, you have to make sure you're being respectful, being quiet in the mornings. We don't like loud noises. That
We did have an experience.
was more than an experience.
Wasn't our program, but
No, but it
we
was
did.
still kind of disruptive.
Yeah. But we managed through it, right?
Yep.
Always trying to be respectful and open-minded. Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. I do know that everybody's favorite was the cooking and making pancakes, and they always appreciated the creativity that you came about with making your pancakes.
Yep.
So what are our sessions going to look like this year? So we like to host 2 weeks of the Next Ed Overnight Challenge. The first session is going to be June 22nd to the 26th. Again, we are going to be out of Oak Hall at UMSL. And then that meet and greet we like to do it the week before. So that one will be hosted on June 15th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The meet and greet will be at the Warson office for the St. Louis Arc, and not at UMSL. Just the overnight challenge when we're actually doing that week will be at UMSL. But that'd be something that we'll go over during the whole intake process to get into the program when you're enrolling. The second week would be July 13th to the 17th, again at Oak Hall, and that meet and greet will be July 7th. All right. So getting registered. So Next Ed Challenge, it is a private paid program. So the program fee is $1,000 for the night. There is a non-refundable registration fee that will be $100. But that will count towards the program fee. So if you are fully enrolled into the program, that does count towards that $1,000. All individuals must complete an intake meeting prior to the registration. This is just to make sure that Next Ed Challenge is the right fit for you, and making sure that you're prepared for the week. We just want to make sure that the week goes smoothly, that the staff has what they need to know to help support you throughout that week. So a lot of it is going to be individuals during that intake meeting learning a little bit more about the program, as well as staff learning a little bit more about that young adult.
Such as allergies and medicine.
Yes,
They will
allergies.
not help you with medicine. You do that yourself.
Yes, good point. Thank you. So yeah, there are some expectations when it comes to that. So young adults do need to be able to take their own medications, and be able to do all of their own hygiene prior to it. The intake questions, we do ask some questions that can be a little uncomfortable, but it's just to make sure that it is a right fit all the way around. If you are interested or would like more information about the program, or just to start that registration and start that enrollment process, we just ask you to email nexted@slark.org. So I think we're going to leave it off for time for questions.
Yes, and we have a ton of great questions in the chat. So they were pouring in while you guys were going through your presentation. Somebody made a comment in the chat of like, where was this when I was young? It sounds like something really beneficial. So, all right, we'll go through these. You may have touched on a couple of these topics, but we'll just make sure that people understand how the program works. So, someone asked, do adults leave in the evening for social activities or stay at the site only? And I assume that means the adult
Participants.
staff.
The staff? So
Or I wonder if they mean parents. I'm not sure if they mean parents or staff. But it
okay.
says
Well, so it is a independent living experience. So young adults would stay with the staff on their own. So parents do not stay with us throughout the week. So if that's what they're saying, we'll kind of
Mhm.
answer that one. So yeah, young
Yeah.
adults get dropped off or arrive on Monday at 9 o'clock, where we do a whole check-in. Parents can be there to help get the room set up, see what the dorm room looks like, where they're going to stay. I like to do a little surprise at the end for parents as they're leaving, a little treat, you know. I kind of stole the idea from when my kid went to kindergarten. They called it Boohoo with donuts. Um, so, so I like to bring donuts in. I also like to do the sweet treat right before nutrition comes in to tell us how to eat healthier, so before the uh, before nutrition tells us how to be healthy, I sneak in the little treat, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
Gotta have fun too.
first day.
The donuts are.
Yep.
I was
So
caught with the
gotta
donut in my
gotta
mouth.
find our way around. So we do have a rotation of staff. So we do have staff that are stationed throughout the week. So we have staff that'll be there for the morning. And then there'll be a different staff members that come in for the afternoon, and then we have an overnight staff that stays in. So you'll have 3 rounds of staff. It stays consistent, so you know who your staff person will be for that week at that time. We also have overlap, so you'll be able to know when your staff person switches over. For young adults, the only time that we leave throughout the week to experience a community outing off of campus is Fridays. Everything else, we will use our resources at UMSL to host those social events. So we will stay on campus for most of the time.
Okay, I think you did mention this one, but just in case they didn't catch it, do people share rooms? Do they have a roommate in their
Yeah.
rooms?
Not, it's a suite, so there's different rooms. We do
Okay.
not share rooms, but we do share a suite and we share a bathroom.
So you will get a key card and a key. So a regular like door key. So the key card will get you into Oak Hall and into the hallway of your dorm suite. And then you'll have a key that will open up the door suite. And then you'll have a key for your dorm room. So, but you get your
Nice.
own room inside of a suite. And you'll have 3 roommates
You also have a desk and a refrigerator in there.
and a microwave.
And a microwave, yes, sorry.
Very cool. Very important stuff. All right. Someone
You also get a
asks,
bed and a wardrobe.
oh yes, a bed is an important part of sleeping over somewhere, isn't it? Yeah.
You will have to supply your own bedding though. So, but we'll go over when we talk about in the intake, we go over what you would need to bring, and then you also, once you enroll in the program, you get a welcome packet that shares everything that you need.
Love it. Thank you. So, do you have to live in a specific area to access this program? And they also ask, what happens if you live outside of Missouri?
So you do not have to live in any program with it being private paid. Um, so we can access that. If you live outside of Missouri, I would still say let's reach out and have that conversation, and we could talk about how that would look. But we are definitely open to that.
Yeah, great. That's helpful to know. And with us being so close to Illinois, I would imagine maybe folks are nearby and curious. All right. How are suite mates determined?
Yeah, I'll let you answer that one too.
So you are asked if you'd rather stay with your assigned gender or if it's co-ed, and we are all very respectful. I chose co-ed because I do not care, but they are very respectful. If you don't want to be co-ed, they will not make you co-ed. But if you also know each other, they might put you together. Might not be a good idea though sometimes.
Yeah, so I think Mary Rose answered that very well. We do send out a survey. So she's talking about that survey that we send out to ask about your preference, who you feel comfortable with, and what kind of living situation you are comfortable with. That's why we had that meet and greet a week before, because we want to see how dynamics work during that meet and greet to see if there's anybody that you connect well with, or how personalities match. And then the staff goes through and looks at that survey, and then we go through and talk about what we experienced during that meet and greet to assign roommates.
All right. Someone says if someone has dietary concerns and eats specific meals, can they bring their own meals?
Yeah, so they can definitely bring their own meals. What's nice is they get their own fridge and microwave inside their dorm room. So we encourage that if you have dietary restrictions, we also do go over dietary restrictions and try and do our best to put those into the meals as well. So we've had people that have had a lot of dietary restrictions, and we would make special meals. But yeah, so we will, and then we talk about like maybe you might have a roommate in the future that has those dietary restrictions, and how do you get creative with when you're cooking and talking about cross-contamination and making sure that we're being appropriate with that. But to answer the question, yes, you can bring your own food. You do have a refrigerator um, in your dorm that we can store that.
They are also very, very good at making sure that if you are allergic to something and someone is going to have that in a food that is being shared, that you make sure we make our own. I am allergic to bananas. Someone wanted bananas in their pancakes. I cannot have that. Uh, so I made my own.
All right. So, what happens at the end of the week? Are individuals graded to let parents know what skills to continue working on at home? Is there any follow-up or next steps after the week program?
Yeah, so the during the week, all of the young adults are completing a journal throughout the week of their experiences and what they've learned. And then they do a satisfaction survey as well to share what they liked about the program, what they learned, and what their follow-up goals would be. We also like to do a follow-up phone call with the families after the week to talk about the week and then see how things have been going since they stayed with us for that week.
You also have the one before too. You see what we want to learn, and then
Mhm. So we do a pre and post self-evaluation. We also like to have family members do a pre one as well to see what their experiences are. I will give parents a heads up. We do share those with the young adults because we have a full conversation and we compare the two pre's so they can kind of see where they're coming from and where their family members are coming from, just to have that open book conversation.
All right, we have a bunch of questions. We still have more to go. Thank you so much for answering so many of these. Somebody else says, what's the typical day like? How early do you get up and when do you go to sleep? Is there free time in the day?
when you get up, that depends on if your suite is assigned to make breakfast or not. And so I think it's like 7 a.m. if you're making breakfast and 8 a.m. if you're not. I mean, they are flexible. Like if you like don't wake up, they don't come into the rooms. They may come into the suite and knock on your door, but they will not come in your room. But that's that. There is free time. We do get breaks. And when we are in the classroom and when we come back to the residence hall. And really, they let us choose our own bedtimes to be asleep, but they do like us to be in our suites and rooms at a certain time. I think that was like 10, 9:30, 10.
10 o'clock.
So they trust us to be responsible adults with when we go to sleep though. So
Yeah. Again, Mary Rose knows her stuff. You can tell that she's done it before. Yeah. So if you're cooking, that suite will get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to start cooking. We do have a busy day. We're trying to cover a lot in the time that we have. We also have to put time in for transportation because we're practicing that transportation to and from the rooms. So we have to look at how when that Metrolink is coming because that we have to prepare for that walk and be at the Metrolink station to catch our train across, right? So we are definitely on to a tight schedule. We like to give time for young adults to be able to experience everything that they want to experience. So there are down times throughout, and it also depends on how quickly, as a team, we're moving. So if it takes us longer to clean up after breakfast, that's going to take away some of that time that we're going to have a break before we have to leave for class, right? But if we are spending a lot of time eating, and relaxing, and we have to clean longer, then it takes away a little bit of that break time. So it's just like real life situations, depending on when we get our breaks in that. So it's 7 o'clock if you are cooking. If you're not cooking, it is 8 o'clock. We like to give that hour for the young adults to that suite to cook. And then we like to use that time afterwards to make our lunches. We do make bag lunches. So we have to figure out what lunch we're going to take over because we'll be eating in the classroom where we're doing the group sessions. So we do recommend to bring a book bag and a lunchbox because you're going to be bringing your lunch. So you want, and definitely an umbrella. You're going to want to bring an umbrella or a jacket. So because like I said, we're using public transportation, so rain or shine, and sometimes it's so hot and sunny, you would want that umbrella to kind of be in the shade, anyway.
No,
And
so you don't know the temperature inside the buildings either.
yep, so sometimes it can be cold, or hot
Oh,
inside of the rooms.
cold.
Cold. Uh, and so usually it's about 10:30 that we get on the tram to go over to North Campus to do our classes. We'll be there until about 3:30. And then we come back. There is a small, we will have a break while we're over in classes. So between each pillar class, you get a 30-minute break. You also get that break for lunch to eat your lunch. When we get back from there, there'll be a break before we cook for dinner. What's nice is, again, just like breakfast, we're on a rotation, so only one suite will be making dinner as the other ones are getting a break while for that cooking. So it depends on your day, depending on how many breaks you're going to get. And then we will do that social activity at night until 10 o'clock where everybody has to go to their rooms.
Sometimes more than one suite does help make food, but you will never have breakfast and dinner on the same day because they are fair.
That's good. Give people a break. Yeah, spread it around. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for describing that. I think that was really, really helpful to give an idea of what the day looks like. Someone else asked, they looked at the picture of Mary Rose making pancakes and they said, do people take turns with cleanup after those meals too? Do you like wash the dishes and things like that?
Yes, we do. No one person has to do everything. So it is with the sweets that are cooking, you do separate that. So
Yeah, so one suite cooks, and then another suite will be responsible for cleanup.
Well, someone asked, how do you know if your child is ready for the overnights? Do you have daytime only options?
So we do run the same program that we call the Next Ed Challenge Day. We run those in August, and we do that out of an Airbnb that's right across from the St. Louis Zoo. That week is from it's usually the first 2 weeks of August. But how the day would work is a young adult would get dropped off at 9 in the morning and get picked up at 4.
All
So.
right. Thank
But
you.
we do the same curriculum that we do for the challenge. It's just they don't do the overnight.
Okay. And you said those were in August, right?
Yeah, so those will
Yeah.
be the first 2 weeks of August.
Okay. Yeah. We had someone else ask if there were programs in August, so that answers their question as well. So someone else asks, can you use Rec Council funds for payment, or is there another type of payment plan that you can use
So
to help?
we've had young adults in the past be successful with using Rec Council vouchers for the program. We do recommend contacting us first and start the enrollment process before moving forward with with doing the process for that because we can support with that.
Okay, this is my last question I have for now. Someone wants to know specifically if their son might be a good fit. They said this is somebody that can cook already and drives and has been to a 2-year college program. Does this program, do you think that it would be beneficial for someone maybe like that? Or how would they get more information about whether that would be a good fit?
Yeah, we encourage anybody who feels like they're up for the challenge just to reach out with us and start the conversations. Because you never know who would be a good fit until we can talk to them and get to know them. But by just the sound of it, yeah, it sounds like somebody that would fit into our population.
So again, share that email for folks if they want more information. Nexted@slark.org, is that right?
Yes, next ed at slark.org.
So thank you again so much, JR and Mary Rose, for being here today and for describing the program, and Mary Rose for sharing your personal experience. It was so, so cool to hear all of the things you loved about this program.